The aroma of deep-fried foods and the shrieks from thrill riders say it loud and clear. It's time for the fair. Surprisingly, Los Angeles, California hosts the largest county fair in North America, each year attracting over 1 million visitors. No visit is complete without paying homage to the fair's traditional mascot, the pig. The show pig competition is serious business, each competitor trying to produce the ultimate physical specimen. Behind every champion pig is a doting mother.
This sow is a wonderful example of what we hope that a production sow would look like. She's 10 years old. She has a phenomenal udder line on her still. She's produced 18 litters of pigs.
The sow is the most prolific reproducing animal on the farm, birthing between 6 and 12 pigs per litter, with the capability of producing more than 250 piglets over her lifetime. She will spend 2/3 of her life pregnant.
What you're seeing is dual activity. Mom is doing what she does best, and that's sleeping. And the pigs are doing what they're doing best, and that's eating. When they're little, within the first, I'd say 12, 24 hours, they actually lock on to one particular teat that is theirs, and they go to it each time. They'll fight to the death to keep that teat. And usually what happens is the bigger, stronger babies that are born root the smaller, weaker babies to the teats that don't give as much milk.
The runts sometimes succumb to the laws of natural selection and perish. Even so, a sow is fiercely protective and will fight to the death to keep her piglets safe.
Watch her, watch her, watch her. They're the most dangerous animal on the farm, is a sow with baby pigs. More so than a bull, really strong in the front shoulders and the neck and the head, comparable to a grizzly bear. And when they bite, they don't bite you like a dog, sink their fangs in and turn loose. They bite and rip a piece of meat off of you. So a hog bite is extremely painful, really, really serious.
A pig's powerful jaws contain 44 enamel-coated incisors, canines, and molars, 12 more teeth than an adult human. The 4 canines, or tusks, grow naturally, but are often clipped off from domestic pigs days after birth to prevent injury to other animals. Though well-equipped to bite, pigs are best known for their legendary snout. So sensitive, they are often used to root out the highly prized edible fungi called truffles. But most truffle hunters prefer trained dogs instead of pigs, who tend to eat the precious treasures. Some call it a greedy appetite, and some call it smart.
If you're around them, you will soon figure out that these animals have a thinking ability similar to what people understand in the dog. They can figure a way to tear up a fence, go through a hole. Terrific timekeepers.
Some have equated their intelligence to that of an average human 3-year-old. But as much as we celebrate the pig's intelligence and charisma, we mainly enjoy eating him. Whether you call him a pig or a hog, his flesh is the world's most widely consumed meat. In the United States, it ranks 3rd behind beef and chicken, with the average American pigging out on 51 pounds of pork annually. Today's hog is a veritable butcher shop of edible meats. The most popular products come from 4 distinct quarters. The leg yields ham, the shoulder, picnic ham and roasts, the belly, bacon and spare ribs, and the loin produces tenderloins, chops, and back ribs. Consider bacon. This Tyson facility processes 600,000 pounds of pork bellies in a single day, trimming, shaping, and slicing at a furious pace. The bellies are first skinned and then injected with a curing solution that helps preserve and flavor the pork.
This is a critical stage in the process of making bacon. This is where the curing ingredients are injected into the pork belly. Inside this injector, there are 168 needles that are injecting a solution of water, salt, sugar, sodium phosphate, sodium erythorbate, and sodium nitrite into the belly.
A quick seasoning stop in a 135-degree thermal oven, followed by a pressing to form rectangular blocks. And this bacon is ready for slicing. Little time is wasted as the slicing blade cuts the bellies at 1,500 revolutions per minute, piecing out exact 1-pound units that are vacuum-packed and ready for sale. Tyson even caters to bacon lovers on the go. Pre-cooked bacon. After a high-speed slicer makes quick work of the bellies, the bacon slices get zapped to perfection. This monster microwave boasts more heating power than 2,500 home microwave ovens.
From the time the pork bellies were put in the slicer, cooked, chilled, and packaged, less than 2 minutes later, we got a finished product ready to eat.
If bacon is breakfast, a ham sandwich must be lunch. Burger's Smokehouse in California, Missouri, has a busy mail-order business that churns out 12 million pounds of specialty ham products every year. Before you can make a ham sandwich, every whole leg primal cut must be split and deboned. From here, each ham takes one of 2 curing directions, city or country. City hams are injected with a brine mixture for instant wet curing, the most popular way of processing ham. Country hams are dry cured with salt and then hung up in bags the old-fashioned way for months of curing. Finally, the hams meet the knife.
What we're doing is removing the femur bone out of the center chunk of the ham. The femur bone runs down the middle of the center. We take our knife and we run it around the bone so that we can release the bone from the rest of the ham. Now I'm skinning the ham, removing the waste, so when the customer gets this package of ham home, there's very little waste.
In the portion control room, the cutting gets fast and high-tech.
We're cutting dry cure country hams on band saws today. The work that we're doing in this room is primarily for the restaurant division. The SARs can each cut approximately 150 hams a day. We then take the center slices that come off this product and then they're taken to a water knife.
The computer-controlled water knife applies the final trim to approximately 10,000 pounds of ham steaks per day. Far more efficient than a small army of human trimmers.
This is the inside of the water knife. The computer will read it. Then it utilizes 2 water jets working concurrently to cut the product into specs. It reads both height, weight, density to make those calculations to be sure that the end product is the right weight and spec.
The jets cut with 50,000 pounds per square inch of pressure to trim and size the steaks. A video camera identifies and rejects slices that fall outside of specifications. For many ham addicts, single slices simply won't do.
The spiral cutting process was developed a number of years ago, and it basically allows the consumer to enjoy the flavor that comes from cooking the product with the bone in, but with the convenience of having it sliced.
The finishing touch is a sugary glaze, caramelized by hand at 500 degrees. Burger's ham and bacon products are packaged for sale, but nothing is wasted.
What we have here are ham hocks that have just been cooked over our slow period and cooked in water. We're now separating from the bone and the fat. We're saving the meat portion of the product. It's a process that has to be done by hand. No machine will do this procedure.
The ham hocks are mixed with a broth and will eventually wind up as a seasoning for turnip greens. These tasty hams bear little resemblance to those of the pig's wild ancestors. The earliest fossilized remains found in Africa date back 10 million years. In 1539, pigs first arrived on the American mainland when Spanish explorer Hernando de Soto brought a small domestic herd to Tampa Bay, Florida. The pigs quickly became an important food source for colonists and Native Americans alike.
Some pigs were kept for food, others were allowed to breed, and some broke loose. From those pigs that broke loose, that actually much of the pig was able to spread then throughout the colonies and into much of what was North America at the time.
Roaming bands of feral hogs often used their powerful snouts to uproot crops. On Manhattan Island, colonial farmers built a long, solid wall to keep out rampaging wild pigs. This area is today known as Wall Street. By the mid-1800s, Cincinnati became a central location for farmers delivering pigs for slaughter and earned the nickname Porkopolis.
When refrigerated rail cars came along, it changed the whole dynamic again of how you processed pigs and how far they could be shipped.
Refrigeration and mechanization revolutionized the packing houses. The revolution swept aside the family-owned pig farm and crowned the corporate farm king in the 1990s. The 21st century pig farm trades the old world barnyard for high-tech husbandry. This Iowa Select Farms facility is all about safety for the pigs. That means a mandatory shower and clean clothes for the workers and our camera crew.
Biosecurity here at this farm is very important for our company to keep outside diseases from coming into our herd. If we keep our pigs healthy, it increases our profitability and we have a better product for the consumer. As we enter the facility, this is a typical wean to finish facility for our company. Pigs come here at about 21 days of age. They will stay here until they're market ready, which is about 260 pounds. Once they reach that point, then they're shipped to a packer to be processed.
The roll call in this facility is 2,500 pigs. To keep the peace, they're segregated into pens to reduce competition for food. Outside, a pair of 15-ton bulk bins supply a steady stream of pellets to each pen. The pigs manipulate a circular trigger to release the food. A precise mixture of corn, soybeans, amino acids, and other minerals. Unlike past decades when pigs were sometimes fed meat scraps, the grain-based diet of today's pig is a big reason why the parasitic disease trichinosis occurs very rarely in pork. But what goes in must come out. And what comes out has been plaguing farmers and the environment for decades.
The way this facility is designed is it's a total slatted, deep pit facility. So the manure storage is underneath the facility. There's an 8-foot deep pit that holds the liquid manure. The manure is able to pass through the cracks in the floor. It's a slatted floor, so the pigs have a relatively clean environment.
The noxious pool of waste emits hydrogen sulfide, a toxic gas. Just 2 or 3 breaths of it at high concentration can kill you. Approximately once a year, pumps remove the slurry from the subterranean tank, and farmers inject it into their fields as fertilizer. But the pigs aren't too concerned about waste. High heat is their adversary. Pigs don't have sweat glands and are at risk on hot days.
We like to keep our pigs, this size of pig, about 74 degrees, and we will slowly move that temperature down as the pigs get bigger. We want to keep the pig comfortable, make him produce as many pounds of pork as possible.
In this barn, temperature control is an exact science. When the temperature exceeds 74 degrees, a sensor automatically lowers a plastic curtain to allow in the cooling breeze. To manage clean airflow, 8 external fans pull the subterranean manure gases out of the barn. The resulting vacuum pulls in fresh air from the attic through vents in a continuous cycle. The barn can even call the farmer if any of the environmental controls malfunction. While modern farmers like Iowa Select embrace new technology to raise a healthy pig, scientists are taking this a step further. Heart-healthy pork chops from a DNA-altered pig, anyone?
Hey, we are the Barnyard Racers, and we're going to have some pig racing fun for you this afternoon. Hey, we're glad you're here.
The tension builds as the contestants are loaded into the gate. These racing pigs may lack focus, but their handlers know how to motivate.
You use milk and Oreo cookies. It's their favorite thing in the whole world.
They may lack the supple grace of their barnyard sidekick, the horse. But some pigs can run a 7-minute mile. Their speed is the product of breeding, because the modern pig is bred for a higher percentage of lean meat to fat. In past centuries, a lean hog was the last thing anyone wanted. Few pigs packed on the pounds like this 1,000-pound porker. But one Tennessee hog named Big Bill set the world record at more than 2,500 pounds. Regrettably, no pictures of Bill exist today.
For a farmer here 150 years ago, that fat was important as lard. They're cooking with that lard, they're burning lard in lamps, they're making soap out of it. So some could say that the fat was as important as the meat to the hog.
And so the use of the pig from 1880 to about 1940 or so was effectively focused on production of lard.
Lard also played a surprisingly key role in modern warfare.
During World War I and World War II, lard was used as an essential ingredient in creating nitroglycerin, which is a base ingredient in munitions and in explosives. And so lard effectively was a piece of winning the war.
By the 1950s and 60s, lard was widely replaced by vegetable oils as consumers began to avoid fattening foods. Today's market hog has evolved from yesterday's round, fatty lard factory with nearly 3 inches of back fat to a leaner, more muscular creature with less than 1 inch of back fat. The loin and belly are now much longer, ideal for producing more pounds of bacon and pork chops.
We've also reduced the amount of calories and cholesterol in that animal. But unfortunately, the reputation of being a lard-type animal, a fatty animal, stayed with the pig for a long time. So we began the Other White Meat campaign in 1986.
Make it with the other white meat instead. The most delicious things happen when you cut into pork. The other white meat.
Pork, like chicken, contains a low count of myoglobin, a protein that adds darker color in muscle tissue. The Other White Meat advertising campaign boosted pork demand by 15% in the United States. The farmers helped meet that demand with artificial insemination, or AI. AI increases reproductive frequency. More importantly, it's a perfect opportunity for pig breeders to select certain traits to pass along to offspring. International Boar Semen in Eldora, Iowa, is working to sire the finest pigs on the planet. Here, the genesis of our pork chops, hams, and BLTs is collected in small tubes.
Artificial insemination has many benefits. The first is that from a cost factor, we can take and spread one boar out through very many more matings and over much more of a population to spread his genetics throughout that population. It also allows a greater biosecurity, so you have less transportation of diseases from the boars to the sows.
The IBS boars live the stud lifestyle in an isolated biosecure facility. Because they will sire virtually thousands of pigs, germ control is vital. Access for the Modern Marvels camera crew is limited to a small viewing window. It may not look like a female pig to you, but this sow dummy is the only help a boar needs to get in the mood.
We'll use a gloved hand to make sure that it's very sanitary. To collect the boar, he's extended out and collected, and then the semen is kept in an incubator to maintain temperature. Temperature is very crucial at this point.
The natural semen has a short lifespan of several hours. But the lab technicians know how to extend that, and they have to be sure the semen is vital.
We're gonna get a what we call a spec reading. That's gonna help us determine the density of the semen. We took a sample of the semen and we put it on the slide here. We're gonna look for abnormalities and motility. As you can see, that sample looks very good. We don't see a lot of abnormalities in there.
Once viability is confirmed, the semen is added to a sugar-based extender solution that prolongs its integrity for several days during shipping. Artificial insemination helps build a superior pig. But researchers at the Center for Integrated Animal Genomics at Iowa State University want to fine-tune him even further. They're using genetic sequencing in pursuit of the ultimate super swine.
The pig is what we might call a plastic animal. It's easily changed by genetics. And this isn't by gene modification, this is just by selection.
Scientists decipher the pig's genetic code through a complex gene sequencing process.
We'll open up a whole new toolbox, if you like, of the 25,000 odd genes that the pig has, and we'll start to learn what they each individually do and what they do together to make a better pig. We've discovered genes that improve litter size by about 10%. We found genes that affect growth rate and reduce manure output. We found genes that increase the amount of lean, and more recently we've been working on genes that affect sow longevity.
Once these genes are isolated, researchers can introduce changes to the gene pool and help pork producers cut costs and serve up a better pig. This pig is a clone, and he's one of several special pigs at the University of Missouri that could one day make us healthier. These are the only pigs in the world that contain high levels of omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3s, so-called good fats, that convert to good cholesterol, are essential to human brain and heart function. But they cannot be manufactured by the human body. They are found only in certain plants and fish, like wild salmon and tuna. To produce a high-level omega-3 pig, researchers inserted a foreign cell containing a gene called FAT1 into fetal pig cells that were then cloned. The pig on a treadmill stress test is one way to compare the cardiovascular system of pigs with high levels of omega-3s to their counterparts with low levels. The results will tell science much about how omega-3s affect the human heart.
I think what this will provide us is just another tool to really begin to understand the effects of omega-3 fatty acids on the cardiovascular system, the immune system, the reproductive system, the prevention of cancer.
The medical benefits from these heart-healthy pigs are potentially limitless, but pork producers may see dollar signs.
I look forward in the future sometime when FDA would approve something like this to enter the food chain to be able to have pork that has high levels of omega-3 fatty acids that would be very healthy to consume.
From a walking lard factory to transgenic super swine, the pig has unknowingly responded to our attempts to rewire him. But sometimes, the key to producing the finest tasting pigs on earth is a bag of acorns. In South Carolina, a barbecue competition is right up there with the Super Bowl. And it's usually about one thing: slow-cooked whole hog.
This hog will cook for approximately 20 hours at 200 degrees. We like to stay low and slow because we want the meat texture to stay together. We want the pork flavor to come out.
Barbecuing low and slow will transform the toughest meat into a tender feast. But most of us don't go whole hog. Our pork comes cut to size and shrink-wrapped. But as anyone who's tasted a tough chop knows, not all pork is created equal.
I think consumers are becoming much more sensitive to food quality. Nobody likes to buy something that's not going to taste good.
To be certain their meat is in peak condition, many producers submit samples for a pork checkup at Iowa State University's Sensory Evaluation Lab. The lab runs the raw pork through every conceivable test. Still, the ultimate judge is often the human palate.
We do train sensory panels with tenderness, juiciness, and flavor to actually train individuals, use them as instruments to determine if a producer changes genetics, we'll be able to tell them how it affects the quality.
In recent years, higher quality pork is not what we once thought it was.
Color is another very important factor. I know we've talked about the other white meat for quite some time in relationship to nutrition, but we find that slightly darker pork is actually of higher quality.
Many experts believe that darker colored, better tasting pork is directly related to higher fat content. So a few maverick farmers are seeking to return the pig to its more flavorful, fatty past. At Becker Lane, a 6th-generation pig farm in Dyersville, Iowa. This throwback approach is called organic pig farming, a way of life that might cause the pigs at a large corporate-run farm to turn green with envy.
Our emphasis here is providing quality of life for the pig and also for the farmers that are involved in the production. So we provide the pig with a lot more space. We believe that the pigs, when they are given so much space to move around and eat organic grain, that will show up and express itself in the texture of the meat.
The Becker Lane pigs begin their free-range life in a farrowing field, a place where sows give birth and nurture their piglets.
So every sow has her own space. So she can have her own food and her own house to live in, which we call farrowing hut. She's free to go in there and give birth to her piglets and come out here and drink from this water system. If she wants, she can make a mud hole. So they have lots of options. They can live a normal pig life.
Thanks to their unaltered genetics, the pigs retain extra fat layers, and with the help of insulated farrowing huts, they can withstand the harshest Midwest winters. When the piglets reach 7 weeks, they move to some European-style accommodations, the hoop barn.
So this is a hoop barn, and inside you see we have some pigs, and a hoop barn is any building that is built with these metal poles to create a rafter system, and over the metal poles we put some kind of fabric, in this case plastic. We're trying to manipulate the microclimate here so the pigs can be comfortable all the time, and that reduces stress.
So how do these pigs stay warm when it's freezing? It's all in the straw. Originally invented in Sweden, a hoop barn uses a 2-foot-deep layer of straw that absorbs and decomposes the pig's manure, generating heat. The mixture is replaced regularly and composted on the farm. This eco-recycling is responsible farm management, but it's the pedigreed pigs that bring home the bacon. Becker Lane specializes in purebred heritage breeds, such as the jet black Berkshire hog. The Berkshire's fame began in the 17th century, when Oliver Cromwell's army brought a small herd back to the English royal family. The king later gave a gift of Berkshire hogs to the Japanese. Today, it's reverently known in Japan as kurabuta, or black pig, and the vast majority of American-raised Berkshire pork is exported to Japan. In the United States, it's now a trendy main course in upscale restaurants.
The pure Berkshire pork, or kurabuta, is definitely darker. You'll see a darker wine color to the pork and more marbling, and marbling is intramuscular fat. That's the obvious difference. And when you taste it, there's a lot of conclusive data that shows the difference in taste for that pork.
Becker's latest Old World experiment is a bit nutty. Specifically, acorns for the famous Italian ham prosciutto.
The tradition of feeding acorns to pigs goes back through medieval times, and we have recipes as far back as Caesar campaigning in Gaul and his troops carrying prosciutto that's been finished with acorns.
The rear legs of these acorn-noshing pigs will soon be transformed into upscale prosciutto ham, downstate at La Quercia in Norwalk, Iowa. La Quercia is one of a handful of artisan American prosciutto makers. The first step in curing it is to remove moisture.
We apply salt externally. We don't tumble it. We don't inject it. We don't cook it. We don't spice it. We don't ferment it. We just put the salt on, and then we use movement through temperatures to allow the salt to penetrate and the flavor to develop in the ham. We use the refrigeration to take the moisture out of the meat. We move it from a very rapid drying situation to a much slower drying situation.
In the centuries prior to refrigeration, prosciutto makers used the changing seasons to preserve and then dry cure the ham. By slaughtering and salting in the frigid winter, and then drying and aging through the spring and summer. When the salt is applied, the cold inhibits bacterial activity, giving time for the salt to fully penetrate and push out moisture. The salt protects the meat from bacteria as it slowly dries, shrinking up to 2/3 of its original size. After approximately 10 months of aging, the hams are trimmed, packaged, and shipped. The price is as high as $30 a pound. It's a gourmet delight for discerning ham lovers in the know.
I always like to say the British mariners ate salt pork and the Roman legionnaires ate prosciutto. You know, who do you want to be?
With little thought, we take this versatile animal's life to concoct countless mouth-watering edibles. But one day, when you least expect it, the pig may just save your life. Every day, millions of people worldwide count on the pig as an important source of protein. But along with feeding us, he's saving our lives in ways few could ever have imagined. We're short of human organ donors. But today, science holds great hope for xenotransplantation, or the process of taking an organ from an animal and transplanting it into a human. Presently, science is counting on the pig, an animal whose organs and circulatory system are strikingly similar to a human's.
The advantage of pigs is that their physiology is actually pretty close to humans, surprisingly. For example, insulin. Pig insulin was used before human insulin was available for diabetics. And it differs by just a single amino acid from the human insulin.
While medical science still has a long way to go before doctors can routinely transplant pig organs into humans, it's much closer to developing a life-saving use for certain pig cells. Approximately 1 million people with type 1 diabetes lack pancreatic islet cells that the body needs to metabolize sugar. Without these cells, long-term complications like kidney disease and blindness can occur. At Chimerix in Blair, Nebraska, the race is on to perfect a way to transfer these pancreatic cells from pig to human and forever end insulin dependence.
This is a pancreas from a pig that we removed a couple hours ago. And what we plan to do today is to isolate the pancreatic islet cell. And this is what we hope to eventually transplant into patients with diabetes to allow them to metabolize their glucose better.
The challenge is to perfect a method to transplant the pig's islet cells so that a human's white blood cells won't destroy the foreign pig cells. Scientists cut the pancreas into fine pieces and isolate the islets. Later, they'll be cryopreserved until needed. When clinical testing is completed, and if a procedure is proven safe and effective for humans, type 1 diabetics may have a cure within the next decade. While diabetics play the waiting game, some 80,000 Americans already know the pig can mend a broken heart. Sterilized and molded porcine heart valves are frequent replacements for faulty human valves. The human aortic heart valve opens and closes about 70 times per minute in an adult male, regulating blood flow as it is pumped from the heart to the rest of the body. Surgeons implant a porcine valve if the human valve contains a defect or simply wears out with age. The pig's valve can last more than 25 years. One reason why more than 500,000 people worldwide have porcine valves. Compared to other animals, the pig's aortic valve is amazingly durable. The same goes for his cast iron intestine, a fact that is turning millions of people with severe injuries into big fans of the pig. In this case, it's kind of a pig patch kit. Cook Biotech in West Lafayette, Indiana, manufactures a product called Surgisys Biodesign. Taken directly from a pig's small intestine submucosa, a thin layer of strong connective tissue. Once sterilized and processed, it's placed directly onto human tissue, where it can help heal dozens of ailments, from severe wounds and burns to hernias, and tissue repairs in formerly conjoined twins.
For a long time, surgeons have been looking for ways to repair the body's soft tissue. And in many cases, they've put metals and they put plastics and even more exotic composite and polymer materials. But what they really wanted to do was put a biologic material in that would actually respond to the body and over time allow the body to heal itself.
The biodesign acts as a three-dimensional matrix, or a scaffold for the human tissue to remodel itself. When implanted, the human tissues deliver cells and nutrients, encouraging capillaries to grow and rebuild the damaged site.
Then after it has been used, it actually goes away, which is nice. And now you leave behind a nice, strong repair that's truly human tissue.
Inside the Cook Biotech labs, technicians cut and fashion the biodesign material in many shapes and sizes, depending on the geometry and purpose of the patient's need. Cook also inspects the material to catch imperfections. Before it's approved for use, technicians run a battery of tests, including one for durability that repeatedly stretches the material, simulating the repetitive physical forces in the human body. When all quality checks are completed, technicians heat seal the biodesign material in sterile packages and distribute it throughout the world. A pig patch kit with the power to jumpstart healing in virtually all regions of the human body.
I think in the future, the pig will be a source for a lot of different matrix materials. It also could lead to the delivery of drugs, the ability to repair tissues all over the body, even tissues that we haven't even thought of repairing now.
Although the pig's future in medicine offers great promise, some aren't as interested in transplanting its organs as much as they are in sautéing them with mushrooms, capers, and lemon. When we look at the pig, most of us see bacon for breakfast and pork chops for dinner. It may be hard to also visualize tires, cosmetics, glue, shoes, and hundreds of other products. Yet in each, nearly 1/3 of our porcine pal is a basic ingredient. Fat becomes lard and may find its way into lipstick, paint, or crayons. Scrap tissue is reduced to protein meal and may become pet food or chicken feed. Bone, when cooked down, excretes gelatin that helps produce X-rays and film. Even the organs and tidbits, like the tongue and the feet, collectively known as offal, are a prized food source in Asia, Europe, and other continents.
We don't use a lot of the offal products, and we are able to ship them to countries that do utilize them and are willing to pay for them, and it makes up a fairly substantial percentage of the actual profit for the animals that are being shipped.
A handful of trailblazing chefs in America are trying to serve up odd pig parts to the rest of us. At Encanto restaurant in San Francisco, the house specialty is offal, like tongue, brain, heart, liver, kidney, feet, and intestine. Or chitlings. Call it Back to the Future.
My grandparents' generation was a firm believer in using it because they were of the World War II generation. You know, they had the rationing stamps, and they could go further with buying a tongue than they could with a pork chop or a pork loin.
In the Encanto kitchen, it all starts from the top.
What we're gonna do is debone this pig's head and set it up for porchetta di testa. And then I will remove the brain from the skull. It takes just a little patience to debone a pig's head. It's not that labor intensive if you're accustomed to it. I got a good crack in there now, so she's gonna, there she goes. What did you do yesterday, honey? Oh, no, nothing big. I just split a pig's head in half. The brain is too soft and tender to actually sear, so we're gonna poach it. You want a nice, gentle poach. Okay? So I'm just gonna take that brain, I'm not seasoning it, I'm just gonna drop it right in, ever so gently. So, brain's been poached, ever so delicately. I'm gonna let that sit there and cool. So now it's nice and cool, okay? So I'm gonna season that with a little salt, fresh ground pepper. The nuttiness and earthiness of the mushrooms will really contrast very well with the brain. So I'm gonna add a piece of butter, and now I'm gonna add the brain. Right where that butter is, it's gonna help caramelize. Give a nice nutty flavor to it, okay? Eating brains will not make you smarter. I've actually been asked that a couple times. Are we gonna be smarter today? No, not really. We're gonna come right over here. See that brain right there? So we have these beautiful chanterelle mushrooms with capers and lemon brown butter. And the piece de resistance is your fresh pork brain right there. We'll finish that off with a little bit of its sauce.
It may not be brains like your grandfather knew them, but over the last 2 centuries, many Americans were accustomed to pitching in on slaughtering day.
Then you would have all the offal cuts would be turned into something like a pâtés or terrines. Sausages would be made. Legs would be turned into hams, city hams and salt-cured hams. And the head would be made into head cheese. This was a normal way of life in this country just as much as it was all throughout Europe.
Encanto has evolved the family farm ritual into haute cuisine. How about some kidney with lentils? Or trotter cakes, a new spin on pig's feet. Save room for dessert.
So what we've done is we've taken this great pork blood here and we've made a final dessert. And it's a chocolate blood panna cotta with ancient spice, which is poivron and cinnamon and cloves, so almost like your Christmassy spices. Blood was a very traditional thickener for sauces and desserts back in the day, and this one is always a big surprise. You would never know there's blood in there unless I told you.
Encanto serves a monthly head-to-tail dinner that's a regular sellout.
There's the direct correlation to oneself where they say, oh, I can't eat tongue, I have one, or I can't eat heart, I have one. So it's getting people to just be willing to try it for the first time, and I think that's when you change their opinion.
Most of us may not be serving up that blood and chocolate panna cotta anytime soon, but there's little doubt that the pig will be on our dinner tables for years to come. Though technology has transformed him into a walking meat factory, and science has enlisted him to heal our ailments, the pig will always